Good morning, students. Lecture topic is chemistry of the photosynthesis process. Lecture plan. First, the property and structural formula of chlorophyll. Second, photosynthetic bacteria. Third, photosynthetic phosphorylation. And the fourth is the process of photosynthesis and chemosynthesis. Photosynthesis is autotrophical process. Plants and plant-like organisms make their energy, like glucose, from sunlight, stored as carbohydrate in their bodies. Carbon dioxide plus water and sunlight, they can make glucose and oxygen. Why is photosynthesis important? Firstly, they can make organic molecules like glucose out of the inorganic materials as carbon dioxide and water. It begins all food chains and webs. Thus all life is supported by this process. It also makes oxygen gas. Photosynthesis starts to ecological food webs. The sun is the source of energy for most living things. The zebra obtains energy by eating grass. The lion obtains energy by feeding on the zebra. Plants such as grass use energy from the sun to make their own food. Photosynthesis it means putting together with light. Plants use sunlight to turn water and carbon dioxide into glucose. Glucose is a kind of sugar. Plants use glucose as food for energy and as building block for growing. Autotrophs make glucose and heterotrophs and consumers of it. How do we know that plants make carbohydrate from just carbon dioxide, water and light energy? Experiments. For example, John Baptist van Helmont in the 1648 planted a willow branch weighing 5 pounds into 200 pounds of soil, and then after 4 years, the tree weighed 169 and the soil was still nearly 200 lbs. Photosynthesis is carbon dioxide plus water with the sunlight energy absorbed by chlorophylls, and then we get glucose plus oxygen. As can be seen from the equation for photosynthesis, the wood, bark, and root came from the water and carbon dioxide. Plant leaves have many types of cell, like this cuticle, this collenchyma. There are several layers. From the above of this is upper epidermis, then this palisade parenchyma, spongy parenchyma, and the lower epidermis. This is vein, stoma, phloem, xylem, and guard cells. Plant cells leaf cross section. There is no chloroplast in epidermis. If you can see this cell containing chloroplast, mesophyll cell, and chloroplast. Chloroplast it consists of different organelles. Such of this is the chloroplast consists of two membranes, is outer membrane and inner membrane. They have intermembrane space. His organelles like thylakoids and stroma and grana. The photograph below, as an elodea leaf, is individual cells are clearly visible. The tiny green structure within the cell are chloroplast. This is where photosynthesis happens. Chloroplast makes the sugars. This is chloroplast, and there are structural formulas in the stroma, in and outer membrane, because chloroplast consists of two membranes and granule. Plants. Leaves are green because they contain the pigments like chlorophyll. Leaves have a large surface area to absorb as much light as possible. Chloroplast makes the oxygen too. In this picture we can see a low-depth photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is anatomy of the plant cell chloroplast. Why do we see green? Chloroplast organelle responsible for photosynthesis. Chlorophyll located within chloroplast, and they have green pigments. In plants and simple animals, waste products are removed by diffusion. Plants, for example, excrete oxygen, a product of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis equation is carbon dioxide plus water, and they have from the sunlight energy, oxygen plus glucose and water. Photosynthesis have two phases. First of them is light-dependent reaction, then is light-independent reaction, we know as like Calvin cycle. Firstly, light-dependent is converts light energy into chemical energy. So, after this stage, produce ATP molecules to be used to fuel light-independent reaction. Even both light-independent uses ATP produced to make simple sugars. Light-dependent reaction is light reaction. It requires light, occurs in chloroplasts in thylakoids. Chlorophyll thylakoids traps energy from light, and light excites electron, kicks out of chlorophyll to an electron transport chain. Electron transport chain, series of proteins in thylakoid membrane. Photosynthesis is how do we get oxygen as a byproduct. Photolysis replaces lost electrons by splitting water. In this equation of photosynthesis, we can use sunlight and water, then we get NADPH and ATP, fuel for the next reaction, and then oxygen, it's waste, animals, and breeze. At each step along the transport chain, the electrons lose energy. Firstly, light energy transfers to chlorophyll. Then, chlorophyll passes energy down through the electron transport chain. Energized electrons provide energy Z, and for the use in the light-independent reaction. Photosynthesis is a light-independent reaction, dark reaction, and does not require light. Its specific site occurs in stroma of chloroplast. Requires carbon dioxide. Use ATP and NADPH as fuel to run, and makes glucose sugar from carbon dioxide and hydrogen. This was a light-independent reaction. Terminology in English is photosynthesis, energy, sunlight, carbohydrate, glucose, oxygen, autotrophs, and heterotrophs.